All right.
We ready, Freddie?
I'm ready.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Recap with Mac for the week of April 27th through May 2nd, where we go over the legislation and what you could and should be doing for what's going on in the kratom world. Welcome to
Did I hold on? You glitched out for a second.
Yeah, you did.
I did?
Yeah, hopefully no technical issue. The 708
I swear to God.
the 708ers are cutting us off right in the beginning.
Exactly.
Was I stuck on screen?
Just for like a split second. It wasn't bad.
Okay. I know Mac looked like it. I thought something was wrong with Mac's computer.
That could always be.
Okay. What kind of updates you got for us, Mr. Mac?
Well, we've obviously got the concern in Iowa, and we're hoping that, in fact, we can escape from the clutches of those that are trying to ban kratom entirely. All of the narrative that they're expressing there is about the confusion on 7-OH. They're conflating everything. We have a staunch group of Republican senators who have just informed the speaker and the governor that they are not going to accept a ban bill. They want regulations and a ban on 7-OH. So we've got another day. We need to keep hammering as best we can all of the members of the Senate, because that's where our stronghold is going forward. So I encourage everyone to continue their outreach respectfully to these senators, to explain to them that there is a difference between, of course, natural leaf kratom products and 7-OH, and to align with the position of the FDA, which has gotten somewhat confused because of the narrative that the 7-OH people are peddling. We also have a challenge in South Carolina, and I know that Misty watched it. I watched a lot of it. It was enough to give you a headache.
Mm-hmm.
The debate between the various representatives on the floor of the South Carolina House, and obviously they don't know what they're talking about. And I don't mean that disparagingly. This is a difficult, complex issue, but they were just passing it off as though this is the gospel truth when they start to say things that really don't make any sense. And so, in this particular situation in South Carolina, it's passed the House with a very big misunderstanding, as we have heard from the members who voted for it, that they didn't intend to ban all kratom. They just wanted to ban the 7-OH. Now it's over to the Senate committee, and so it'll go through a hearing. We want to keep up a strong outreach to the South Carolina Senate, and as are out on all the alerts. And then the procedure is that if it makes it out of committee, hopefully in an amended form, but it's likely that no matter what happens, there'll be an objection raised, and that should be sufficient to run the clock. It's just difficult in these last hours for there to be regular order to produce a bill. Now, if you do what happened in Kentucky, obviously you see that slid through without any hearing or anything. That's the exact opposite of what's happened in South Carolina, but still a confusing outcome as we go forward here. And in Tennessee, we obviously expect that the governor is going to sign this. We will have to spend the interim period educating legislators outside of the pressure cooker of the legislative session, and let them see exactly what the reasons why they made a mistake and why they shouldn't replicate that mistake going forward. And I think the reality that will help us is that the actual bills will come due. The state will have to pay the counties for the loss of sales tax revenue. That's going to be not $1.3 million. It's going to be $5 million. And they're going to have to then pay for the incarceration costs, which are going to be substantially more than were estimated. And the total of that whole bill for the entire state is $20 million. That's crazy. And yet the proponents of the so-called Matthew Davenport bill, which should be called the fraud of the century bill, because we know that Matthew Davenport didn't die from kratom. As much as Esther Helton Haynes wants to say it, it doesn't make it true. And as much as the mother would like to believe that her son was only on kratom, it's not true. And so as a result, I think that the reality will set in, and we have a chance to at least revisit this issue in a more rational way, and certainly with a more informed way in the next legislative session. Disappointment without question, because we expect that people will look at the facts, evaluate them properly, and come up with a rational decision. And in this case, Tennessee did not. Now, the reality is there are two factors that are complicating across the country what's happening. The first is 7-OH. The 7-OH advocacy, which I'd like to talk about today, their newest national advocacy platform, is designed to confuse people, to try to conflate kratom with 7-OH together, to ride the backs of the advocates of people that say kratom is fine for me, 7-OH is a real problem. They want to say they're the same, and of course they're not the same. And it's infuriating when you hear people like Michelle Ross say that. That's insanity. And in the same breath, she says, "I am the most experienced kratom researcher in the country." Not true. Not a single peer-reviewed published article that I'm aware of that she has done. She's done a consumer survey that she selected from 7-OH consumers and she did a study. A study of what? She did a consumer survey
A
asking.
Reddit consumer.
Well,
Mainly
yeah,
Reddit people.
I understand. I'm not against Reddit, but I'm against the way that the consumer instrument is modeled and tested for use in a survey. And when you say, here's a box of cornflakes, is cornflakes your favorite cereal? Well, the only available. Well, I guess it is. I mean, this is the kind of what is most difficult here is that Michelle Ross will peddle herself as some kind of an expert using this so-called survey, when in fact it's nothing more than a flimsy consumer survey, and that's all it should be treated as, and certainly not a scientific article.
Yeah, it's literally a social media survey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that the critical element of its credibility lies in the way that the survey instrument is designed, the way that the results are evaluated. We can't look behind the way the questions were asked, the methodology that they use. These are difficult things. So we'll have to see. But we're going to keep fighting on this front. But my point is that here she pretends, masquerades as though she is some kind of a seasoned, published researcher to claim the mantle of being the most experienced researcher on 7-OH in the country. Not true. And she, by the way, just as an example, she has uttered the words that 7-OH has been well evaluated by the 2 Jack Henningfield egg factor analyses that were done in 2016 and then in 18 and then republished in 21. She says that. She says, oh, well, 7-OH has proven to be safe. Now, if she is the most experienced, qualified 7-OH researcher in the country, you could go out and buy a puppet at the toy store and have just equally as good an experienced expert, because the 7-OH evaluation by Jack Henningfield in 2018 and again in 2018 concluded that in its naturally occurring trace amounts, 7-OH does not pose a safety risk, nor does it meet the criteria under the Controlled Substances Act to be scheduled. That's all it said. And for her to suggest that those 2 research papers, and then I emphasize research papers, done by Jack Henningfield in any way mirror the conclusion that she articulated, it's false, wrong, and no credible scientist would make that decision. A person who's advocating for 7-OH might, in order to, and I emphasize this, mislead consumers, because that's been the game of 7-OH from day one. Mm-hmm. They entered the marketplace calling themselves Kratom. They refused to kick that labeling criteria. When I attended a meeting of a group of 7-OH manufacturers in Las Vegas at the Champ Show 3 years ago, they were pitching me hard in order to accept that in fact Kratom and 7-OH were the same and that we should be working with them. And there were people in the room, and this tells you how the power of misinformation is. They said, we are required to market our products as Kratom by the FDA. I said, how is that? They said, well, we have to put Kratom because it's an ingredient. Well, first off, it is a very small ingredient in a 7-OH product. It is the trace, it flips the trace amount of 7-OH to become the predominant amount of 7-OH. But there is nothing in the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, nor in the DSHEA Act, that requires them to label their products as Kratom. Now, this is how crazy it was to sit there and listen to them, and they had been told that by someone.
I remember that. I do remember that.
I suppose it was the most experienced and credible 7-OH manufacturer in the country that told them that nonsense. Mm-hmm. There is nothing in the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act or the DSHEA Act that requires that. You are required to list the amount of 7-OH on your product on your label. That doesn't mean you're required to call it Kratom. Mm-hmm. That was their excuse, and I emphasize excuse. So that's the bottom line there. I think that this is what happens when you get a group that wants to advocate for their product being legitimate to be on the marketplace when it's not. And they make up stuff. That's all you can say about it.
And because they make up stuff like that, it gets reverberated with the Kratom danger awareness people.
Well, sure, because they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Now all of this is just my opinion, but my opinion based on watching what they do, looking at their evidence and data. But you have the kratom danger awareness people doing the very same thing in terms of, now they flip it and they say, kratom is dangerous. And then they talk about kratom deaths. They ignore two important criteria. One is a kratom associated death means a death for which kratom is identified in a tox screen. It does not mean that kratom had any role whatever or even played a significant role in what possibly could be a death based on the tox screens. But they say it. They'll say it like it's the gospel truth. And you'll hear it from them. And they say, oh, well, kratom is dangerous and therefore has led to all of these deaths. And if that's true, then my family member's death obviously was caused by kratom. We obviously do not wish on anyone the death in a family, but you should know the truth. And if you don't want to know the truth, if you as a family don't want to know the truth, you sure as heck should not be wishing on others misinformation, mislead them about what the truth is. You can hide in your cone of silence if you choose to do so, but you shouldn't. You shouldn't rely upon that misinformation to then be the standard by which others can conclude that kratom killed my kid. Now, I love to hear this nonsense that the 7-OH people are peddling is, don't blame us. Don't blame us because 7-OH didn't come onto the market until 2023. As I mentioned last year, and I verified over this last week, looking at the data that's now available, 7-OH was included in high amounts in products starting in 2021. They were experimenting. They were trying to develop a product line, and they were infusing into products. So when someone says to me that, oh, well, 7-OH didn't even come on the market, so therefore it couldn't have killed my kid,
Right.
that ignores the reality that 7-OH was out there in high concentration products along the way. Now, there's another issue that's critically important with the KDA. And of course, we'll never know the truth because they say, don't show them your autopsies. Don't show them your tox screens. Do not do that because they don't want the truth to be out there. But they say that, obviously kratom caused the death of my loved one. And you can look at the data. Well, they won't show the data, but you can look at the conclusions made by sites like the FDA and NIDA and by the CDC. In each case, and certainly with NIDA and the FDA, they make their positions clear that kratom deaths are rare. And when they do occur, when those rare deaths do occur, they're because of adulterated products and polydrug use. Now, there's always a possibility of an underlying health condition. The CDC is a little different. They take a different position on it in that they publish data. They have not opined about kratom in any way, the way that the FDA and NIDA does. They just say, here's the data. And you look at the 2019 survey on medical examiners in 29 states that reported 151 deaths that were kratom related. And then they said there were 91 of which the medical examiner coroner identified as being on the autopsy and on the report. And then they said there were 7 that were kratom only. Now, that's not what the hysterical screaming headline was of all the media when that report came out. It said kratom deaths in 151 deaths or 91 deaths. Not true, but 7. And of the 7, when we asked, and then it was done by a group in Colorado, for those 7 deaths where there were blood samples available, they found that 4 of the 7 for which there was blood samples, the other 3 didn't have any, were all polydrug use when analyzed by more sophisticated testing equipment. Polydrug use. So what's the chances of those other 3 being the same thing? Very high.
Right.
But these conclusions that are drawn by the kratom danger awareness people, and by the way, by the trial attorneys, they want everyone to believe that kratom is dangerous, right? Because that's the narrative that they want to push. It's not accurate. It certainly should not be relied upon by anyone. I was interviewed by a reporter from Florida yesterday who had talked to Patty Wheeler. And I've heard this before, but it wasn't in a venue that I could report on. But the reporter said to me, well, Patty Wheeler acknowledges that her son was taking 7-OH. Well, thank you. That's what she said. Now, Patty Wheeler told her that. This reporter wouldn't have known that. And yet Patty Wheeler has this documentary. She's running around the country, leading the crusade in order to ban natural kratom. If there is a possibility, and apparently this reporter confirmed that Patty Wheeler told her it's more than a possibility, that her son actually died from the ingestion of an adulterated kratom product or a polydrug use, whatever it is, uh, then that ought to be the truth of the matter. But and to the extent that Patty Wheeler is misleading people, it's only kratom, then shame on her. Let's have the truth. Let's just lay our cards on the table. We can accept that there are going to be occasions where people are abusing a kratom product. We can accept that. We accept readily that in the early stages of the development of kratom product formulations, particularly with extracts, that some companies were doing exactly what the 7-OH people did, which is for a profit, decided to let them drive their product formulations. And you had extracts that were being made using industrial grade solvents that are highly dangerous and likely caused adverse events and maybe even deaths. You clean that up simply by restricting, which is what we've done with our KCPAs. And I think that's a very important part of what we try to do. But today, when you hear the narratives, when you hear the explanations being made by the anti-kratom forces, they label everything as kratom, right? So that's really tragic. It's unfortunate. And yet that's what's driven the narrative in 2026 in those states where we have seen very strong anti-kratom crusades. And we're hopeful that a couple of things are going to happen. First is the action will be taken by the Drug Enforcement Administration to finally schedule 7-OH. Now, this keeps getting pushed around and delayed. I understand the latest delay is attributable to a reevaluation that's being done within the executive branch about this, may be influenced by what the what the Seven Hope groups, Seven Hope Alliance, and the other 7-OH people are advocating for. They're spending a lot of money forward, so maybe that's part of it. So we just need to figure this out, and hopefully we'll get that answer. And secondly, we need to take advantage of this interim period while most legislatures are in recess until next January to educate people. Less intense environments. Go back to those states where we've seen bad decisions being made and explain to them that you've just simply missed the ball here. And here's how and why, and you ought to reconsider. And I can tell you, most legislators are open to that kind of discussion. You get some that get railroaded. I mean, the perfect example of that is when you have the Speaker of the House in Michigan who gets so starstruck when Patty Wheeler comes rolling into town and befriends him and says, "I've got this documentary and it's proof positive that kratom killed my kid," which is hardly what it is. And that speaker gets all wound up in that, holds a very unique session of the House of Representatives in the state of Michigan. And he glues everyone to their seat by rule. They can't leave, can't go to the bathroom until they pass the bill that he wants passed. And Patty Wheeler is sitting there beside him while the vote's being taken. Now, what in the world are they doing when that kind of nonsense takes place? Because it's
I would be mad.
I tell you, I would have. I'm so stubborn. I would have just sat there.
There's some that did. Now, thankfully, a more rational group of people observing what happened, what the reality of what happened, sit in the Senate, and they didn't like it, and they don't like what the speaker did, and they don't like the theatrics of having this so-called Hollywood personality showing up in their legislature and acting like she's the queen of kratom, anti-kratom nonsense. And so I think that they're going to have a pretty tough row to hoe in the Senate to try to get a ban bill passed, precisely because of the overreach that was done by Speaker Hall. He made a mistake, and he needs to own up to it and say, maybe I rushed to judgment here. Now, politicians sometimes can be stubborn, and he seems to be one of those, but we'll see. And hopefully he'll straighten up his act. But there's that. But all of this has empowered the anti-kratom people to, tout these things as though they are great victories. In Kentucky, you have a situation where the ban in a one-sentence provision was stuck into the revenue bill, must-pass bill, delivered to the governor on the last day of the session. Not a single hearing, no witness, no debate, nothing. It's there. And the governor thankfully looked at that and said, well, you have a right to to have this to be evaluated in committees with regular order. You ought to have witnesses. And so he extended the enactment date to July 1st of 2027. That's a great thing. Now,
Yeah.
I saw the posting that was sent to me about how the anti-Creighton people say, "Oh, Max touting this as a great victory, how he negotiated with the governor." These were negotiations conducted by legislators with the governor's office. We obviously had input. We gave our opinions. We discussed it with the staff of the governor. There was a very healthy discussion about it, and that's what the outcome was. And to be mocked by the anti-Creighton people to say, "Oh, you're taking credit for this." Why don't they say, "Guess what? That was a setback for us. That was a defeat for us." They'll
Mhm.
tell the victory that they have, and now they want to act arrogantly, like, "Oh, well, how can he claim?" Like I whispered in the governor's ear. No such thing happened. We talked to his staff. We talked to legislators who talked to the governor personally, and that's the outcome. That
And that
should
should be the way, like, people should be glad that it wasn't done, that it wasn't done such a shady way, I mean, if you have to lie and cheat and do shady stuff to win, is it really winning?
Mhm.
That's right. And I wish that the governor in Tennessee had listened, and in Kansas had listened the same way, because there was a more reasonable outcome that was available than the harsh and overly restrictive policy that was adopted there. But we'll be back, and we're going to continue fighting. But and the someone asked, I saw a minute ago, about Iowa having one more day. We know that they're on their last couple of hours or days of session. Their per diems ran out over a week ago. And these are people, that's the per diem is the amount of money they get paid
Oh, I was like, what does that mean?
while they're in session. So if they're not getting paid for in session, they have an incentive to get the heck out of there. So I think we'll see that happen in Iowa. It's a tough battle, but we've got this resolute group of senators, as I mentioned, that we need to support going forward. In South Carolina, they're in the last days as well. So I think we again continue to advocate for the right policy position there. Tell people to keep pushing their representatives and educate them. I think that's a very fair thing to do along the way.
Michael says, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but he's in Iowa, and I'm guessing he's talking about his son's something in Iowa. But why did they come into my son's work and take all the Kratom products off the shelf?
Is this in Iowa that happened?
Michael, if
believe
you're still here, answer. Let us know if that's in Iowa. I know Michael's in Iowa, so I would think that his son's there.
So I can tell you that would be jumping the gun. You may get some overzealous regulators who are thinking that it's going to pass. It has not been banned in the state of Iowa. That gavel has not struck. The signature hasn't been penned to a ban bill. The governor in Iowa would sign it in a flat second, but if the bill doesn't get to her, she can't sign it. So that's what we're hoping for.
When does the Kansas law take effect?
Oh man, I do not remember the enactment date. I want to say it's in June. Actually, someone did tell me. Let me look at while we're talking. I can look it up. Our lobbyist, I think, pinged me about the enactment date.
Sherry, it's not. I know it was just signed by the House Speaker, and so that's just what it looks like on the website. I don't know if he's actually signed it or not, but I would be shocked. Even if he doesn't sign it, though, it still goes into law. So
What bill? What state are we talking?
Tennessee.
Tennessee,
Oh yeah, that's that one's unfortunate.
like I said, I'd eat my hat.
Yeah,
Mhm.
remember the enactment date on Kansas, but we'll find out.
Okay. Yeah, because that South Carolina hearing, I tell you what, we live streamed it the other day too, as well, because I was like, this is too good to not live stream. The way that Representative Todd Rutherford, I called them senators in my live stream, so I apologize for that. They're representatives. But the way that he got up there, and oh my good gosh, he was up there preaching.
But he knew what he was
Preaching.
talking about. Like, you can tell when somebody knows what they're actually talking about and when they don't. And so it was obvious who knew what they were talking about and who kind of was just parroting whatever they've been told.
So
And
now I think that the good news is that the lobbyist in South Carolina talked to the members who sponsored the amendments that got through that appear to ban kratom. they said that's not our intent. They were confused. And so I think that'll help as we settle the score and the Senate side to appropriately put the right language in. We'll get a regulation bill, not a ban bill. And we won't get any bill if we hope if they insist on it being a ban bill.
There were so many amendments that went through, and then some that got called out and then got tabled, and then Case Britton had to go up there and one up Todd Rutherford, and then Case Britton seemed like he went back on to, okay, let's ban it all. It was just it was like watching a tennis match.
Yeah. Like, it was a lot of emotions going on too. I mean, it was a lot.
Yeah. So I saw the question, do we know about the news article? There's an old adage that you can't read everything you read in the newspaper, and that's one of them. I mean, they just, again, jumped the gun. It's not true.
Yeah.
You cannot have a bill presented to the governor until it actually passes, and it has not passed the legislature at this point.
That's not what in Tennessee before the Senate hearing was even over.
Yeah.
The journalists were reporting that it was banned.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it could be somebody jumping the gun because of a news article or something.
Someone did jump the gun in Iowa, because when those articles came across to me, I clicked on them, and then it was page 404 found. So they removed it. And then I went to click on the YouTube video that was put up about it, and that was removed as well. So someone did jump the gun on that one.
Yeah, no question. So could we talk about the latest strategy published by the Seven Hope Alliance for what they want to do for a regulatory scheme in order to allow people to have access to safe kratom products?
Oh, are you talking about the press release?
Yeah,
I read that.
It is a fascinating extension of the way that they do business. They came onto the market calling it kratom when it wasn't. They told people that kratom and 7-OH are the same, which it isn't. And they went on every time they get the opportunity to mislead, to deceive, or to mislabel or lie, they do it because it's desperation on their part. The key elements that they describe in their new regulatory scheme from 7-OH is that there should be strict age restrictions requiring consumers to be 21 years and older. Fine, we have no problem with that. That sales should be limited to age-verified retail establishments. Gas stations and convenience stores will not be permitted under these standards. So think about what that means. It means that you can only buy a kratom product or a 7-OH product in a smoke shop. The 7-OH manufacturers market their products solely to drug seekers, those people looking for a euphoric high, those people that want to have that whiz-bang, knock you on your ass moment. That's what they market to. And so it's no problem for them to say, toddle down to the smoke shop to get it. But they know that the average kratom consumer isn't that profile. The average kratom consumer is a person that wants to replace a cup of coffee with a better experience using kratom to increase focus and have energy. Or at higher serving size, they want to reduce their anxiety, maybe reduce feelings of depression. And then at the higher serving size still, they use it for management of acute and chronic pain. None of those people in the traditional kratom market are the drug seekers, because kratom doesn't give you a euphoric high, but 7-OH does. And so what they're suggesting and trying to, again, masquerade as being, we're for good policy. And they say, but we only want it sold in retail environments. And for goodness sake, you can't buy it at a station or convenience store because we know that those are bad, because they don't sell. Their primary marketplace is not a gas station or a convenience store. And if we're going to use that standard, if that's really where we're headed, then I can tell you that you will shut all convenience stores down, because most of the products in those convenience stores are not approved by the FDA for any medical purpose. And yet they're things that help you relieve pain. They're things that help you feel better, reduce anxiety. I mean, this is just the nature of the over-the-counter medication and the dietary supplement and botanical supplement industry. We sell products that make people feel better. We do not sell products that give you this euphoric high that they're peddling. We don't sell drugs but in order to demonize and the beauty of and the irony and the deceptiveness of the 7-OH people are the ones that say, this is just a turf war between the two groups. Nonsense. It's a safety issue. And if we're looking at safety, where can you market a unsafe product in a gas station or convenience store? No. They know that they can only be sold at smoke shops, right? That's the bottom line. The other thing that this Florida reporter asked me last night, and this, now you know where this came from. She said, "Well, tell me, Mr. Haddow, would you allow your grandchildren to use kratom?"
Mm.
Well, she said to me. Now that comes right from Patty Wheeler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Yes, I have 17 grandchildren. Some of the adults' grandchildren that I have are adults. They know what I do for a living, and they've asked me, and would I recommend or allow my grandchildren to use a safely formulated, properly labeled kratom product?" Yes. And she appeared pretty stunned by that. I
I
said,
would.
I would. Yeah,
"Yeah,
I would. Any of my
absolutely.
adult kids.
But
Yeah.
I would not recommend to my underage grandchildren to use it, because there has to be informed consent and awareness of what they're doing. And there's a purpose for which kratom should be consumed. It's not to seek that euphoric high. It's not to have this experience that somehow knocks you on your rear end, that kind of thing. Of course not. But it was really interesting to see her reaction when I said that, because she was, "Oh, you would." And again, it comes from this space where they say, "Oh, kratom is dangerous, and therefore, why would you possibly recommend it to your grandchildren?" And this is, of course, the narrative that Patty Wheeler is peddling in her quest for having some kind of stardom. Now, I keep waiting to watch the documentary, because I know it's supposed to be on Netflix, but oddly, it's not. I wonder why it's not. It's been out for over a year, and it's not out there yet. Pretty interesting kind of thing. But I'll tell you why. Because Netflix is not going to pick up a one-sided hit piece, at least without having some kind of financial incentives on the other side. And look, Patty Wheeler is a passionate advocate, and I've met her. I was on the documentary. I don't know what pieces they used of the documentary, but I can tell you that during the filming of the documentary, while I was sitting there, Patty was asking me questions that the producer interrupted her and said, "That's not the right question. We can't put that on the screen," because she was so biased, right?
Mm.
Understandably. She believes her kid died of a kratom-related death. But now that I hear that from the reporter, if the reporter is accurate, and if she's recounting exactly what Patty Wheeler told her, that her son died of a 7-OH product, that's a different scenario entirely. She did not say that to me when we were doing the interview. But my point is that this national, let's go around to the states, and you get the people of like Senator Mike McKell, who is an ambulance chasing, let's get a class action suit together so I can make some money kind of an attorney. If that's the people you're associating with, shame on you. And if you're going to go to Dean Francis, who has decided this is his cause celeb, and you listen to him, and you listen to him over and over again say things that are simply incorrect, and you want to associate yourself with that individual, then good. Then you're just adding to the problems you have. And then on top of that, to join a group with Andrew Kolodny?
Mm.
I mean, you give me a break. Andrew Kolodny is at this point so impaired in terms of his credibility. It's not even funny, and not because of anything that I've done or that the kratom industry has done. I'm talking about what he did during his quest to try to demonize all opioids, and the efforts that he undertook that ended up depriving legitimate pain patients of access to therapies that drove them to far more dangerous drugs, led to overdoses, and for people that died because they didn't have access to the pain medications. And yet he wraps himself in the dollars, because he was making a fortune testifying in product liability cases and in consulting with the company or the counties and the local governments who were trying to get a piece of the pie from the opioid settlements. So he got it both ways. He demonized the opioids on one side, and then started collecting money and consulting fees on the other from these local governments so they could get a piece of the opioid settlement money. I mean, there is not a better example of someone who just simply exploited the marketplace. And he just did a commentary on a publication that I submitted a counter op-ed. And I just got an email yesterday saying, "Oh, we don't accept op-eds from anyone that's not an academician. This is traditionally an academician format." But we run it by Andrew, and Andrew had these comments about your op-ed piece. It's a milk toast kind of thing. Well, Mac should consider this and consider that. Hey, now we're set the stage. Let's have a public debate. Andrew, let you and I get on a webinar and let's have at it. And we'll see how your credibility stands up.
I would love to watch that.
These arguments that he's making are simply ridiculous. And you don't have to be a scientist to know how bad it is. When he sits before a public body like Suffolk County and he tells them kratom is an opioid, that is false. It's not an opioid by chemistry. It's not an opioid by legal definition. And yet he says it like it's true. Excuse me. So it's not true. So I think the time's come for us to actually have that discussion. So back to what the Seven Hope Alliance is doing. They then say we should have milligram-based limits on active compounds. Okay, let's look at that. So what is that milligram limit? According to one of their chief spokespersons in the industry, Vince Sanders, he says 28 milligrams is the right level. 28 milligrams of 7-OH in a single serving. Give me a break.
Is it even actually 7-OH in there?
Well, that's
Yeah. Well, that undercover video of that one guy did, the dude from Heart said he would never take over 7 milligrams in an entire day. He said never.
Well, Vince Sanders wants to sell product, and it's not about scientific data to back up a 28 milligram serving size. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. Why? On what basis do you recommend a 28 milligram serving size? Now, this is the same guy that sat before the Massachusetts legislature and said you could eat 2 pounds of 7-OH in a single setting and it wouldn't harm you. That's craziness. But that's what a snake oil salesman has to say in order to justify what they're doing. You go to the extreme in order to make it sound reasonable. Oh, 28 milligrams. So now look at what the test results that the Texas Attorney General was able to identify in the 7-ohms product, which is supposed to be a 7.5 milligrams. I think is supposed to be the serving size. I just pulled it up here. Let me get it. And here's the interesting thing about that. When it was tested, they found that there was 12.84 milligrams per tablet. Now you're supposed to break the tablet in two, and so you would have at that point about, if I remember correctly, about 7.5 milligrams. The actual metrogenine level per tablet was 1.52 milligrams. You can't have pseudodoxil in a product and call it safe. But that's the problem. When you manufacture a 7-OH product, when you use the pull shock chemicals, the high concentrations of chlorine and baking soda to catalyze the 7-OH out of natural leaf kratom material, you end up with some other things in it.
It's like how they make cocaine.
Right. And so, oops, we have a little bit of pseudodoxil in it. Oh,
yeah.
Spilled a little.
Yeah. And who knows what else, by the way, because I'm not sure that we tested. But then, of course, the standard is, and this is what we did back in 2019. And by the way, 2019 is an important date because that's the first year that we started promoting and advocating for a regulatory scheme on kratom in the States. And we have said that no more than 2% of the overall fraction of the product should be 7-OH. If you look at the 7-ohms tablets, 14 milligrams, so it's 7 milligrams when you break it in half, if you do that, and that's not reasonable either, 86% is 7-OH. Not 2%, 86%. And that's based on the testing that was done by the Texas Attorney General along the way. And then you had, this one's great, Luma, advertised as, and it's prominent on the packaging, it's a 80 milligram shot, right? Of 7-OH. It says 7-OH. There is no 7-OH detected. None. And so therefore there's no percentage of 7-OH.
And that's a liquid shot, right?
That's a liquid shot.
Mm-hmm.
And the metrogenine pseudodoxil is 42.17 milligrams in that bottle. It's all pseudodoxil.
So they skipped over the 7-OH and just put straight pseudo in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you look at the Smurfs. Smurfs extra strength Baba Berry tablets, 400 milligrams in a package of 5 tablets. The 7OH per tablet is 38.45 milligrams, 0.83 milligrams of pseudodoxil. 95% of the tablet is 7OH. Now, remember, 2% is the standard, and they're up to 95% in that. In the Opia, which is, again, a 4 times chewable tablet, 4 pills in it, the amount of 7OH per tablet was 16.14 milligrams. So they're even selling a product that's a little goofy in terms of what they claim is 7OH. 0.39 milligrams of pseudodoxil, which is very powerful. And then 96% of that product is 7OH. And they want to market it as being safe. So you go down these standards. So what we're doing is looking at the other product formulations, because this is the key. Is it safe to market a product? What is the product formulation that we're looking at that we want to make sure that it's safe for consumers? And that's the bottom line. I mean, this industry turf war that they're talking about is actually a consumer safety war. And their products are unsafe. And they don't want to have a contrast on safety to natural leaf kratom products. They want to have a battle between, the natural kratom leaf people just don't like the fact that we're stealing so many of their customers. Now, the basis for that theft of customers, that customer base, is because 7OH is so powerful.
You're creating addictions.
Right.
Yeah. And by the way, we're finding out that many of these so-called 7OH products are really pseudodoxil laced, just like you'd have fentanyl laced. Mm-hmm. It's a product that's not approved, has zero safety data to support consumer use of it.
And it's fully synthetic.
Yeah. And that's what they tout. They say, we don't have any peer-reviewed published literature. We don't have any testing data that shows it's safe. They admit that, but they say we have consumer use data. That's the weakest of the 3-legged stool that you could possibly have. You first have to have a clinical data that shows that by testing in lab animals or in the laboratory that you have a safety profile. Then you have to have human testing, and then to go to consumer experience data. Oh, it's been on the market for a couple of years, and we've sold. You hear them say 500 million doses. Therefore, it must be safe. And here's the biggest, fattest whopper of a lie that I've heard since my 13-year-old son told me about something he wasn't doing. And they say, oh, you got to understand that when we talk about 7OH, people are really treating this safely, and they're really working hard, and they're not experiencing anything. What they do not tell you is that every single adverse event that is reported to the FDA is evaluated. And the FDA now has data that they have published as a documentation for their 8-factor analysis that they submitted to the DEA, documenting serious adverse events with 7OH that by contrast are dramatically different than the average kratom consumer in America. So we're talking about consumer experience. I'm sorry, you guys lose on that battle. And then when they try to suggest that because they've had 500 million or 1 billion doses and there's been no serious adverse events, that's not true. It's a whopper of a lie.
It's a big back lie.
Mm-hmm.
So and then, of course, then the consummate expert on 7OH sits there and says, oh, well, it's not true. It's perfectly safe, and there's never been a death reported, nor has there been a significant adverse event reported. That's just nonsense. And yet she'll say it with a straight face. The same person, by the way, will say, oh, we know that those sublingual products are a problem. We're not selling them anymore. The same way that Jeff Smith last year at the Champ Show said, we're not selling those confectionery ice cream 7OH products anymore. And I walked out of that debate, walked downstairs, and I went to 3 booths that were selling them. We're not selling those anymore. And the consummate expert on 7OH in the world said, we're not selling chewable, dissolvable tablets anymore because they bypass the stomach. They go the gastro system. They go right to your mu-opioid receptors. They hit you like the freight train. She's not selling those anymore. And I bought a dozen of those products 2 days after she claimed that was true.
Well, if that's the case, then how are they ingesting 7-OH? If they're not selling the chewable tablets or sublingual, how are they ingesting it?
Well, they claim that they're selling regular, not dissolvable, not the fast dissolving that bypass your stomach. They claim that they're selling 7-OH products that go through the natural process. And then here's another part of the lie. They say that when you do sell 7-OH that goes through the first pass metabolism tract, that the problem is that the liver converts metrogenine into 7-OH. That's what they say. They say it all the time. And
So does KDA.
Yep.
the falsehood in that is that when in a natural kratom product, that when your liver processes it, and that's what the liver does, it processes all kinds of things that you ingest in your body, then it decides how to distribute it.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of the metrogenine that is ingested and processed by the liver is excreted. It never goes to the mu receptors or anything like that. A small amount, because it is a trace amount anyway. So that 23% conversion factor is dramatically misleading in terms of what the effects really are. And by the way, that's something that Ed Boyer will support, that there is a natural defense mechanism that your body has where it starts to dissolve it and push it out in other ways. And it's not necessarily going to have any kind of a measurable impact on your body in terms of processing for the benefits that kratom might have. So this is a farce when they try to say that natural kratom leaf also converts to 7-OH. But think about this. If you take a natural kratom leaf product that has a very low level, trace amounts of 7-OH in it, and it's processed by the liver, then whatever happens, happens. And whatever percentage of that gets to your body that helps to the mu receptors, that helps you in alleviating pain, so be it, because it's proven to be a very safe process. And that's been documented with safety studies and with clinical studies and human safety studies. So what is it the 7-OH does? When it goes through your first pass metabolism tract, it gets to your gut and it hits the liver, all right? It hits it like a freight train, because this is a massive amount of 7-OH. This is, and now pseudodoxa, we know. This is kratom that has a percentage, a very small amount of 7-OH, that on a percentage basis, and that's the big game statisticians use, that percentage basis. If you have one and you increase to two, that's 100% increase. That has nothing to do, it means nothing, but they like to say that, oh, it's a 23% conversion rate. But tell me what a 7-OH product that is 90% greater than 2%, tell me how that impacts. How does the liver process that? It hits it like a freight train.
Mm-hmm.
It's a highly dangerous process. So they like to take, these facts and they bastardize them. They torture them. They make them unrecognizable. And then they act like they're the gospel truth. It's just comical when you think about it. But it's dangerous because they're misleading public officials, legislators, by peddling that nonsense. And they say it with a straight face. They act like it's the gospel truth. And when you challenge their lobbyists to repeat it, they point back to that great guru, the queen of all science, Michelle, who points back to a survey she did of people that are consuming 7-OH. She doesn't have a lick of science to document what she's saying. So that part of it is just crazy. And at some point, well, we are shortly going to get our arms around it, because the one thing that they have done, and with this new program that they've announced, they once again overreach. They overplay their hand. They go beyond what the science says. They go beyond what any rational person would think. And what they're trying to do is capture more and more people to put them into an addiction model. Go to a smoke shop. Go in there and buy whatever you want and ingest this and see where you end up in the end. And it's not a good place. And that's the difference with natural kratom leaf.
You know what? When I was at the Champ Show last year, I will forever remember this conversation with a smoke shop owner who came to the booth as we were packing up. And he told me that he's got a family to feed. So yes, that he sells 7-OH, but he has also helped people go into recovery centers because of their 7-OH addiction. He helped fund those.
Wow.
So I don't know if he ever stopped, if he ever pulled 7-OH off the shelves or not, but I just know that he was battling with himself because he was like, yes, I have a family to feed. Yes, this is what people come in to buy. Yes, they get addicted. Yes, I will fund their recovery. So
Wow.
it's a moral, like to me, I say this too. These 708ers that came out on scene, they filed moral bankruptcy is what they did.
Yeah.
We get caught in the crossfire of the 7.orgs wanting to claim that the GKC and AK and the Botanics for Better Health, that this is a industry turf war. Us advocates get caught in that crossfire because what us advocates are seeing, especially on our social media, is it might not be killing these folks, but it's killing their relationships, their marriages, their bankruptcy,
Their job.
their jobs, the amount of money that people are spending. It is like it might not kill their life, but it's killing their livelihoods.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the distinct difference that Nora Volkow really talked about at the International Conference on Kratom at the University of Florida a couple of months ago, when she talked about the difference between an addiction and a dependence. And you can, in fact, become dependent on Kratom.
Yeah.
Your way off of it is that 10 to 14 days with very mild. You can walk away from it. You don't have to have medical intervention. But the underlying argument that you've just articulated, Misty, is exactly right. What about the conduct of the people that are hooked, addicted on an opioid like 7-OH? It's the same thing that happens in an opioid addiction, and lives are lost, careers are lost, families are lost because of that addiction. And that's the real problem that you're facing here. And to have people that are out there solely to chase the almighty dollar in order to addict a group of people that are susceptible to it or misled by it is tragic, and they need to be shut down. And that's our goal as we go forward. And I think that next week at the Champ Show, we're going to be talking about the big 7-OH con, because that's what it is. It's a con job. It's a con job on consumers. It's a con job on legislators. It's a con job on public health officials. And we've got to simply draw the line and say enough of the misinformation, the lies, and the deception. And let's stick to what the facts are and stop feeding our enemies with this misinformation that they then use to confuse legislators. And so even if they want to make the argument, well, we're not directly the ones telling the lies to the legislators, which they often are, but they're also empowering these anti-7-OH people to peddle the same misrepresentations.
Anti-kratom people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where we are. I've got to run, but I can tell you that the battle is now engaged fully, and we're going to be out there hustling. And we deeply appreciate the kratom community that continues to fight for natural leaf kratom and properly extracted products to be out there in the marketplace. And for all of your advocacy work, we're doubly grateful.
Can you finish this question off real quick?
Sure.
It says, Mac, I've always wanted to ask you why you're so passionate about our cause. Seems like you could be chilling on a beach somewhere, but you're in the trenches with us. Why are you so passionate?
So this is a complicated answer. I made a commitment about 10 years ago when I was sitting in Orrin Hatch's office and we were talking about this battle. And he said to me, we both committed that we were going to stay in this fight until we won, right? And he knew that by getting the DEA not to ban kratom in 2016 was still going to be a huge battle with the FDA. So part of my commitment to this has been that I made a commitment to him that I was going to stay in the battle. And he was a passionate believer in dietary and botanical supplements, and he hated what the FDA was doing. The battleground has shifted now. And so frankly, I can tell you that the 7-OH people have ticked me off.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm a little mad at them, so I'm going to stay in. And I know that in the conversation I had with one of the 7-OH people, they said, well, we'll just outlast you. Well, fat chance of that. Brace up, because I ain't going anywhere until we win this battle. And I think we're getting close, but we're not there yet. And so when I'm satisfied that we've gotten to that point where the natural kratom leaf consumers marketplace is secure, and that citizens that want to use and take advantage of and exercise their freedoms to responsibly consume well-regulated products, then I'm good. I'll go off to the beach. I know I'm never beach, but I'll go to the golf course and I'll enjoy my retirement. But right now, I'm not going anywhere, and that's a signal to the 7OH people. They think they're going to wait me out. That's not a good pathway.
I feel like we got years and years of battle within us, and if you happen to pass away before it's all said and done, you're going to be haunting them in your ghost form.
Exactly right. I will be there from the depths of hell or the heights of heaven, wherever I end up. So I appreciate you guys very much.
Okay, bye, Mac.
Thank you.
See you later.
Okay, that was an amazing conversation.
Oh, that was too funny.
I know that he had limited time with us today, so we couldn't just go over everybody's questions or comments that were in there, because he had told me he was only going to be available for like 30 to 45 minutes. But
I think we got to everyone except for I know Mike had asked about Illinois, but
let me see. Sorry, it's also hard to keep up with the questions that come on here because they go so fast.
I try to pin them if we don't ask.
I saw you were doing that, yeah.
Oh, 2 recitals. You have fun, Dana. Thanks for popping in.
Okay, bye, Dana. I see Jeff's in the house. And then we got Mel and Tiffany. What's up, Tiffany?
No, Tiffany, they are not. Chalk screens and autopsy reports are not public record in every state.
Mm-mm.
They are in Tennessee.
Trust and believe. When a death happens, the AKA gets up on that.
And each state is like, they have a different, policy, I guess you would say. It is. How's everybody doing today?
How's your lovely Saturday going? Sherry, what's up, Sherry?
Lovely Saturday. Today is my oldest. Today I became a mom 26 years ago.
Happy birthday to your son.
Crap. I just still cannot believe that. I tell you, I had no idea what I was doing. But,
nobody ever has any idea. Like, you're never prepared to be a parent. I don't get
how people are like, I'm going to wait till I'm financially stable, or I'm going to wait till this. It's like, man, it happens when it's supposed to happen.
You are never prepared. You just go with the flow after the fact, Plainfield. Man, these sales ban hearings, that right there, these sales bans are KDA's backup plans.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hey, if we can't get the possession included, let's just go for an all-out sales ban.
I always forget that's Chris. Hey, Chris.
What's up, Chris?
Hey, Sherry. Hey, Rebecca.
I loved your new 7OH video. I saw you put it on LinkedIn. I didn't go check to see if you put it on TikTok yet.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. My birthday's in September, actually. September 13th.
My birthday's in 10 days.
Yeah, it is.
You're 47 and still ain't in heaven.
That's horrible. I guess it's not horrible, but
Kratom saved me from going to heaven.
Oh, here's these bot dudes.
I know, freaking bots. Get out of here.
Get out of here. Yeah, the sales bans are. But, at least they're not trying to. Yeah, Mike, they've been working hard behind. Y'all, I mean, I tell you, it's when people are organized enough to be doing things behind the scenes, it makes a big difference a lot of times.
That goes for the pros and the antis.
Yes.
When you're organized, we have a huge organization behind the scenes, and we try to get them when we can, I plan on going to, yes, Tiffany, I plan on going to DC. I don't have the date yet, but when that happens, I will be asking for donations, honestly.
Oh, 19th anniversary. Happy early anniversary.
Yeah, Sherry.
Dang, next year you'll be y'all's 2-0, huh? Yeah, I have to sit there and think about how long me and my husband. I think we're 14 years, 15 years possibly. I don't know, 14 or 15 years.
Was Rutherford for both Leaf and 7OH, and the sponsor testimony was confusing. The South Carolina bill seems like it's regulated Leaf and full ban. It's dude, it is so weird. When we were even when I'm thinking about it right
Yeah.
now, it's just I cannot. It was just so chaotic.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of emotions, and then things just weren't getting differentiated towards the end, and all hell broke loose.
Because the original bill was for natural leaf and to ban 7OH and synthetics. And then that Representative Ford guy, who was actually a former hemp farmer, he got up there and introduced an amendment to ban it all, and then he criminalized possession, and then he took possession off the table, but he still wants to criminalize all kratom and 7OH and synthetics. And then Rutherford gets up there with another amendment. Not clear. I don't even know what. Like they. It's like in that hearing, they wrote amendments as the hearing was going on.
I love that story. Every time I hear you tell your story, that's so sweet. It is so sweet.
Hell yeah, Sherry.
Yeah, I think Kratom saved. Well, it saved the hell my husband was going through. He put up with me for a while. My shenanigans. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with being happily divorced. It's better than being married and miserable. You know what? That's what I say.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, Rutherford, like, he knew what he was talking about and everything. And that Britain dude, like, he even said before, like, we're about to go over the 2% thing and everything. But I think it got heated. I think some people got upset because I feel, honestly, personally, I feel like people got upset because Rutherford did his homework.
Yeah.
And he knew exactly, and he was pointing out stuff that's like common sense stuff. Like, you're going to put people in jail for this. You're going to, it's common sense stuff. And I think when people get, like, their wrongs pointed out, they take it personally. Some people do.
It's a blow to the ego.
Yeah. Yeah. And them legislators and politicians, they got big egos, boy. They would.
And so Rutherford gets up there and does his sermon. And then Case Britton gets back up there and does his sermon, talking about 3,600 pills for $36. Like, what? What? Where? Who? So, I don't know. I don't know. But whoever's in South Carolina needs to go to the hearing next Wednesday.
Yes. If you can make it to the hearing in South Carolina, that's a huge plus. Even if even if you're not speaking, just showing up and having the warm bodies show up. I meant to put my webcam on.
Hold a sign.
He was, I don't know. You know what? I wish if I could have any rep that I've seen over the past 6 years advocating, represent me, it would be Rutherford.
Yeah.
Hands down. Hands down. No, he didn't.
No, he did not. I think he's a lawyer. Let me look up his profession.
He didn't. He sounded more like a preacher to me. And baby, you can preach all day long about kratom.
Yeah.
As long as you're preaching the truth, I don't care. And it's funny, like, my last name used to be Weatherford before I got married, and I used to get called Rutherford all the time.
Yeah, he's an attorney.
Well, you can tell sometimes when they're attorneys because they know which questions to ask, where it makes you think. You can they're either doing that or they're trying to phrase stuff in a way that's misleading.
He was using, like, lawyer terms.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good.
I plan on going to DC too. We just need the date set. And it's pretty. I went last year, and it's pretty chill and relaxed. Walking through those buildings though, it is just long hallways. It's so pretty. It's so pretty, but they're long hallways. It's like they got the reps' offices spaced out really far between each other. And so you walk in there and you want to talk to somebody who deals with I forgot what we used, like FDA stuff or something. And you go in there, 9 times out of 10 you're going to speak to the legislative aide. So that's what we did, and they would put us in a room with these huge desks. It's like you're sitting at those tables, and you're like, man, this right here is like a round table of where policies are made.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
whoa. And here I am being a recovered drug addict, never thinking, while I was in active addiction that I'd be in DC, trying to help save what's saving me. Tracy, there will be an advocacy fly-in day type thing. I'm pretty sure it's going to be about the federal KCPA.
Yeah, just going and talking to different, legislators,
Mm-hmm.
especially like your state. I'm glad. I don't think I'll be able to go, and I say that only because I have no idea. Like my mom's having hip surgery. I was planning on going when it was, if it was before May, but May is like the busiest time of my life, and then who know? I don't even know what's going to happen. I'm waiting to hear back on when my mom's surgery and stuff is going to be. I wish I could go though. I do. I am going to be kind of sad, but I'm glad that Tiffany's going to represent.
But the date keeps getting pushed. So
yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't know. We'll see.
Oh yeah, Tiffany. Same. I can't stand politics. I don't care about any of the other crap. If I only care about Kratom and what's happening to Kratom. I don't care about the other freaking politics crap.
I'm about ready to start showing up at the polls and shit in Tennessee, y'all. I ain't even playing. This has bothered me so bad.
Out of all the legislation hearings we've watched or attended, Tennessee is the worst by far. The worst. And yeah, Mike, go ahead. Call the smoke shops. I've done that before. I've done it a lot, actually. And so, most of the times they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. It's just another product to them. It could stay or go.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was when I went to go hand out flyers here. But it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I feel like I need to almost get more involved in local politics. Even though I hate it. I hate it. Oh shit. I do vote every time just because, I mean, I'm not trying to throw the whole I'm just saying, like, as a woman, I feel like it's we should, people fought for us to be able to vote today. And so it's like, I feel like my girls that fought for me, I'm gonna at least, vote.
Don't say gals.
That's why I changed.
We are not at a show. We are not.
For all the women that came before us that paved our way, that's why I vote.
No, there isn't a federal threat against Kratom. There's a federal threat against 7-OH, though. But the fact of the matter is that, because the 7-OHers purposely confuse the legislatures, as well as KDA. Yeah, I heard about him.
Yeah.
Mike, I heard about him. Sad.
I forgot. I didn't.
It's sad.
It is sad. Yeah, there's none where I live either, Jeff. There is in Tennessee, but not anywhere near. I think the closest one near me is in Nashville, which is like 4.5 hours away or so. So
All I could say is that kratom legislation, it don't matter what side of the aisle you claim, what set you claim,
Yeah.
it don't matter.
Well, and I used to say this all the time before Tennessee happened. Kratom is bipartisan. Like we're all, it's a human, it's a human right not to be in pain. I feel, like just whatever works. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. There's you know what? Things are only controversial because of the media.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, that's the only damn reason. I don't even watch no news anymore. I can't stomach it. I just can't stomach it.
I'll watch the news for the weather. Sometimes I'll have it on as background whenever
Shit, I
I'm
use
doing
Google for
chores
my
or something.
weather. They should give me too much. That. Yeah. I don't know. It's
Because my conspiracy theory brain sometimes thinks that 7OH was mass produced to the market like this so that it could get kratom banned, so that big pharma could finally dip their greedy ass fingers in it. But then I've asked the scientists and researchers that question, and they said if they did it, they would have done it a much better way. The whole 7OH being mass produced is done by a freaking dude that was in the spice industry. He was a former Kirby vacuum salesman, a car salesman. you know, it's like he's like, I'm gonna make my billions before they ban it because we know they're gonna ban it, and they've made billions.
yeah, it's a human right to just find something that like that's what and I think a lot of people don't realize, a lot of normies don't have to live with pain every single day of their life. But if they're like, oh, like that Rutherford dude said, oh, here's a plant that I can use and I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to use opioids that is pain relief. Huh. I mean, it is a no brainer. It's a no brainer. Why try and police that and take that from someone?
And Kathleen, I hear that same argument with the 7OH. You're saying that it's a human right to find something that provides pain relief, but there's got to be it's got to be safe. It's safe versus
Right.
not safe.
Right. That's what my thing is too. And especially like putting it out on the market and knowing all willy-nilly knowing that it may or may not hint not be safe. That's disturbing. I mean, that's disturbing.
They mass produced it to the market without any informed consent at all. Why? Because they didn't have any scientific data to back it up. They used, like Mac was saying, they used Dr. Jack Henningfield's studies, but Jack Henningfield's studies were talking about the natural
Right.
7OH.
And I can't stand here. Well, it's all the same. The molecules are all the same, at the end of the day. Well, you're not fucking throwing in a bunch of damn chemical salads in that shit either. Like, we don't know what the hell you're ingesting. And fillers on top of that. Like, get the out of here with that. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't even trying to get all pumped up about stuff.
Well, the thing of it is that we can get very passionate about talking about 7OH, and it pisses off the people that are consuming it. Especially former kratom consumers. Yet that gets me, man. That gets me when they
these leaf. Oh, what do they call us?
purists.
Purists. These leaf purists. They say the same thing that people said during Prohibition. So fucking what? I mean, it's true. It's true. Like, just because we're saying the same thing, doesn't mean it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not true, fucking prove me wrong. You can't. You can't. Like, that's just it. Like, you cannot prove. You have no science to back up what you're saying. You're using mine. Get out of here.
Mm-hmm. But I have a serious, yeah, and Mike, I mean, you've seen the hearings that we attend. It is just buck wild. It's like,
right, that right there. Like, I don't give a shit if people decide to go live on the streets and shoot heroin. I don't care. Like, that's their deal. You know what I'm saying? But if they come over here and start trying to fuck with kratom, saying their heroin is crazy, whatever. If it interferes with my life, that's when I have issues.
Yeah.
And 7OH coming on the market and advertising and market it as a kratom product, that's when y'all made y'all's mistake, when y'all
Yeah.
first came on the market. But I don't give a shit what anybody puts in their body.
I had someone comment on my TikTok the other day saying, I'm a heroin addict and I would never touch kratom.
I don't.
And I
Okay.
asked the question, are you still on heroin? They never answered me, but what? Are you freaking serious?
Yeah, I don't know. That's like,
The thing of it is, though, is that it's not called cocaine in the leaf. It's an actual another name, but that's the natural alkaloid in the coca leaf. 7-OH is not a natural alkaloid in the kratom leaf.
right, because it's not even produced, and
The leaf don't make it.
Mother Nature don't make it until after it's cut off the tree.
Yeah.
And
that's in very minute amounts. It's not the
Mhm.
same as the products on the market today.
I can't. Mm-mm. I feel like half the time they're just people come in our comments just to troll us, and so that's why sometimes I'm like, "Are
Yeah.
you serious though? Like seriously?" Oh yeah, dude, Misty, dude, like when she gets those videos that go viral, the
Yeah.
comments, like I had one, I've only had one, well, I don't know, in the past like month or so, but it's like, bro, when you start getting a lot of views on a video, the comments are insane.
It's
Like they're insane.
I ignore a lot of them, or I'll just block them.
Yeah.
And then they when they start attacking, like, oh my god, when the 7-OH start attacking me, when you gotta,
When you have to call people names.
exactly,
Like, damn, dude. Like, if you're that fucked up about it, being
you already
wrong.
lost the argument with me if you start talking about how fat I am, or how I shouldn't have long nails and colored hair and a nose ring, whatever. You done lost the argument with me. Like
Yeah.
this motherfucker on X last night called me a nut job. Okay,
All right.
that's cool.
Well,
I said, why are you calling yourself names again?
that person was probably intoxicated on his legal
Beer.
alcohol. Mm-hmm.
I know. I see you, Mel, and I love that you do that on my TikTok. So thank you for doing that. She said I go through there and try to answer people.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to backtrack on that shit now, but it's a little too late, I feel like this was all a plan. They're like, we're going to come out on the market and we're going to say it's kratom. We're going to lie and say that we had to say that. I totally forgot about that. They did say that shit
They
a
did.
while back. Oh, well, we have to put that on our packaging. Dude, I totally forgot about that till today, man. They sure did say that shit. Such a... And, the thing is, like, I don't know, for people to, like, just parrot that stuff like it's actually true, it bothers me that people would be like, think for yourself, does that sound right?
And
Yeah.
the whole fact of him saying that it was actually coming out, they were experimenting around in 2021 with it. It kind of makes sense to me with all the TikTok commenters I was getting back in the day like that.
I think I know for a fact it was around that time, because I know that there was some people that was, the kitchen extract people
Yeah.
were dabbling around, but I think it just didn't become blown up on the market until like, Opia and all them people started making all that, the fancy kid appealing packaging and shit like that,
Drug names and all that shit. Because I remember the influx of comments I was getting in 2021, and I was saying, is it an extract? Are you taking an extract, a liquid extract? But they would never tell me the names of the products. But now it's not. Now it's all, the dots are connecting.
Yeah.
people were a science experiment in 2021. That's the other thing that I don't understand. I'm like people, they don't realize that they're the human guinea pigs right now. Or maybe they do realize it and they just don't care because they're getting whatever kind of good ass high or bad ass high
Hmm.
that they're
Well, that's
getting.
just like Mac showed that Texas Attorney General. Those labs
Hmm.
came back. It's filled with like
Oh,
pseudo.
you did the thumb up thing.
Oh, I didn't see. But it's like, pseudo, I hear not only is the binding affinity even worse than 7-OH, but it's like I hear it's a lot harder to just quit.
It is, yeah. You're going to get GMP or QR code from someone manufactures 7-Eleven if they're no, you're not.
But you know what? I feel like especially in the beginning when they were like, oh, I buy from 7-OH my lab tester from where?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that's even? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you know? Just because it has it on the package or it has a QR code, I bet you half the people didn't even check that shit, man. Get out of here.
Like I said, my thing is that I was in active addiction for 11 years, and during that time, especially when I graduated doing cocaine, I did not care what I was putting up my nose. I didn't care.
No.
And now that I found kratom, it's introduced me to a whole Pandora's box of all these different botanicals and herbs and all that stuff. I care.
Yeah.
I care what I put in my body.
It is too. I think we're gonna go and go. I just remembered, well, I didn't just remember, but I've got a kid that's going to a birthday party today to his friend's house, so I'm gonna go get him ready.
So
It's birthday all day today
I
for
guess
everybody.
I was just gonna say it's your oldest child's birthday, and then your other kid's going to a birthday party.
Yeah, his friend's like, the same one that's doing the Pinewood Derby
Oh
tomorrow or
yeah.
whatever, so I don't know if he's gonna spend the night or not, but I know they'll have fun. And then I'm making either a strawberry cake or a strawberry shortcake. I haven't decided yet. So we shall see. But I'm
Okay.
glad Mac was able to join us, even though it wasn't for very long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, we'll be back. If not throughout the week. Wait.
Nah,
You're not going to be here Sunday, I don't know if we'll be able to do Saturday,
I don't
right?
know if we'll be able to do Saturday or not, so we'll just
Yeah,
keep that up in the air.
because I'm not. What is next Saturday? The date?
Let me see. The day before Mother's Day, that's what I know.
Oh, that's
May
right.
9th.
Man, I don't know. I felt like there was something else. I don't know. So we may not be next Saturday, but if we,
If we are, it'll just be, something real quick or something. Oh, you're gonna go see the movie, Mike? Yes. I told my daughters I want to see it, but I'm gonna wait till it maybe comes on Netflix or something.
man, when I was a little girl, dude, I had an obsession with Michael Jackson. Like I had a purple glove with like glitter on it.
I was just explaining to my daughters the other day that because I grew up full Michael Jackson. We grew up in that era.
Yeah.
And we fed into the propaganda hype. That the media was saying about Michael Jackson and kids and all that stuff. We fell for that. So I can only imagine how many other unsuspecting people are falling for the kratom propaganda.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, when you hear stuff constantly all the time on the media, that shit starts like the whole, and I hate to bring it up, I know it might be controversial, but just an example, the whole COVID thing, like I was not worried about things, but I mean, whatever. And then, you have family members, like my husband's family was really concerned about it. And then he started freaking out about certain things and all that. I'm not even going to get into all that. But I'm just saying, like, there's people that still don't even talk to their family members after that shit
Yeah, I know.
because of all the conflict the media,
Yeah.
did. Like, God, that's insane. Like, I don't know. I don't trust anything.
And I'm a firm believer that if Michael Jackson knew about kratom, he would still be here today.
Yeah.
It just like any other, musician or actress or actor, if they knew about Kratom, they'd still be here today. I kind of have like this. I found Kratom June 25th of 2019, and Michael Jackson died June 25th of 2009. And it's like
Has it been
I'm pretty
that
sure.
long?
Let me, because I got
Wow.
fired from the post office the same day that Michael Jackson died.
God.
Let me Google that real quick before we get off here. Yeah, June 25th, 2009. My career ended at the post office. I was at the post office for 11 years. And I found Kratom June 25th of 2019.
But that, I mean, I think, with any public person too, it's like people are always going to have haters,
Yeah.
you know?
But I'm always a Michael Jackson. I'll forever be a fan.
Yeah.
So, but I just don't want to go to the movies to go see it. I'm gonna wait
Oh,
until it comes to an app.
God, 2009.
Dang, Mike. Mike and Mike. Michael Jackson and Mike.
Mike is going to see Michael.
Yeah, Mike's going to see Michael.
My middle son's name is Michael. Michael.
Mike. I don't know if you've seen all the TikToks of people leaving the movie theater, after seeing Michael Jackson. First of all, they're all crying and stuff, which kind of hits me in the heart. Like, oh crap, what's being seen? But then you have the other people that are doing their Michael Jackson dances as they're walking out of the theater. And Mike, I know you freaking dance. So you should set your camera up and do, as you're walking out of the theater, do a Michael Jackson tribute dance or something. I want to see something like that.
Yes.
And because of Kratom, you could do that. I want to see that.
That would
Tag me
be
in the
super
video.
cool. That'd be super cool.
And tag it, Mike. What would you just say, Mike? Mike watching Mike
going to see Michael.
Yeah, Mike going to see Michael. Ew. Okay, well, we can end this. You guys have a great weekend. We may or may not be here next Saturday. I don't know. We'll see. But y'all have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody. And happy Mother's